Okay, let's look at example 2. It says find the area of the region bounded by the graphs of f of x equals 2 minus x squared and gx equals x. So we have a parabola here, a parabola that's going down because the x squared is negative, and here we have the line y equals x. Now what they don't give us this time is x values. They don't tell us going from 0 to 1 like the last example. So the first thing we have to do is figure out where these two graphs intersect. In order to do that, we want to set them equal to each other. So we want to know when is 2 minus x squared equal to x. When will they have the same y values? Right? So what we're going to have to do, because we have an x squared, we're going to have to reorganize this and we're going to have to factor. So the first thing I'm going to do, get everything on one side. I'm going to move that x over and put it in order from the highest power to the lowest. So I'm going to have negative x squared minus x plus 2 equals 0. Now, I don't want to deal with a negative, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. I want this to be easier to factor. So that's going to give me x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. Now this I can factor. It's going to be x plus 2 times x minus 1 equals 0. And then to get where those two graphs intersect, I want to set both of those equal to 0. So I'm going to have x plus 2 equals 0. I get x equals negative 2. And x minus 1 equals 0. And that gives me x equals 1. So now I have my x values that I'm going to put on the integral. So let's start from there. So I know I'm integrating from negative 2 to 1. Now the next thing I need to know is which one is on top, which graph. Remember, they may not give you a picture, so you need to be able to figure that out. Now between negative 2 and 1 is the value 0. So if I want to see what's happening at x equals 0, that'll tell me which graph is on top. So if I plug in 0 right here for x, I get f of x equals 2. So y equals 2. If I plug in 0 for the equation of the line, I get g of x equals 0. So y equals 0. That tells me that the parabola is actually on top between negative 2 and 1. Now that may change for other numbers. Sometimes we'll have x cubed where it switches back and forth. But for this particular graph, the parabola is on top. So I'm going to use it for my f of x. So I'm going to have 2 minus x squared minus my g of x, which is x. And all of that would be dx. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite that. When I rewrite it, I'm going to have from negative 2 to 1 of negative x squared minus x plus 2 dx. So now we're ready to integrate. Let's see, let's get a different color. So let's go up here and let's integrate this. So a negative x squared, when I add 1 to that, I get 3. So I'm going to have negative 1/3 times x cubed. Then I have a negative x to the first power. If I add 1 to that, I get 2. So I'm going to have negative 1/2 x squared plus I add x to the 2 and I get 2x. We don't need a plus c because we are integrating from negative 2 to 1. So we have negative 1/3 x cubed minus 1/2 x squared plus 2x. So first we're going to plug in the 1 for everything. Let's do that. I think we'll have plenty of room. So first I'm going to plug in the 1. So it's going to be negative 1/3 times 1 cubed minus 1/2 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1. Then I'm going to subtract, and we're going to plug in the negative 2. So that's going to give me negative 1/3 times negative 2 cubed minus 1/2 times negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2. So we complete the first one, then the second one, and subtract them. And when we are done with that, we end up with an area of 9/2 for our final answer. So the area between those two curves is going to end up being 9/2 once you complete that.